Right now, in your inner circle, there is someone methodically studying your weaknesses. And the most terrifying part? You handed them the keys to your psyche yourself, with a smile. There comes a moment in everyone's life when illusions shatter. You realize the world won't hand you sincerity on a silver platter. You are not immune to betrayal. Your kindness doesn't guarantee respect in return. And the people around you, some of them, are testing your boundaries right now, waiting for the moment you loosen your grip. Today, this one-sided game ends. What you are about to hear is not soft advice for those who just want to think positively. This is not motivation for the weak. This is a blueprint forged in the cold fire of dark psychology and Machiavellian strategies. Remember that time you trusted someone, opened up to them, and ended up being blamed for every sin, drained and bewildered? Did you think it was just a misunderstanding? No. It was a game of chess, and they just forgot to warn you it had started. We're going to break down 6 red flags, 6 hidden patterns that expose a manipulator before they sink their claws into you. By watching this video to the end, you will stop being a convenient target. You will become someone who sees right through hidden motives. You will be the one who reads predators like an open book. Listen closely. Your transformation into an invulnerable person begins now. The manipulator's first weapon strikes your deepest, most vulnerable need. The need to be understood. For ordinary people to get close, it takes months. They need time to observe, learn your habits, and understand your character. But a manipulator operates differently. They hack this system in a matter of days. They create an absolute, intoxicating illusion that you are soulmates. They mirror your interests, your gestures, your pain. You complain about an injustice? They'll say they've fought the same thing their whole life. You share your boldest dream. Turns out, it's their dream too. Every cell in your body in that moment screams, "Finally! Finally someone sees the real me. Finally I am understood." But stop. Freeze that moment. That is exactly what they want. They want to lull your vigilance to sleep. They want to get a blank check of unconditional trust, bypassing all your logical defenses. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. A commander who wants to capture an impregnable fortress without a fight won't batter the walls with a ram. He will convince the citizens he arrived as a savior, and they will open the gates themselves. A manipulator doesn't attack your self-esteem on day one. They become your most devoted ally. Let's break down exactly how this trap is set. In dark psychology, this is called love bombing, or forced intimacy. The predator unleashes an avalanche of attention, compliments, and involvement. They fill your entire space. Your phone blows up with messages. They are always around, always ready to listen. Your guard drops to 0 because your brain is overloaded with dopamine. You become addicted to this feeling of self-importance. And then comes the heavy artillery. Trauma dumping. The manipulator suddenly reveals their deep wound to you. They talk about a difficult childhood, betrayal by ex-partners, or the cruelty of colleagues. And they do this with one single goal: to force you to reciprocate, to spill your secrets, to expose your weak spots. The moment you open your pain to them, you hand them the remote control to your psyche. Now they know exactly where to strike when the time comes. Healthy relationships, whether in business, friendship, or love, are built brick by brick. They require the test of time. A manipulator builds a cardboard castle overnight. How do you spot this illusion before the trap snaps shut? How do you test who is standing in front of you, a sincere person or a predator in a savior's mask? You need to do one simple yet lethal thing to them. Set a micro-boundary. Say, quote, 4 to a minor request. Pull back slightly. Say that you are busy today and can't meet or talk for long. And then, just observe. A healthy person with adequate self-esteem will accept your refusal calmly. They respect your space. But for a manipulator, your no is a glitch in their matrix. It's a threat to their control. In that moment, the mask of the perfect friend will crack. You will see a split-second flash of irritation, coldness in their voice, an attempt to guilt-trip you or use passive aggression. They won't be able to hide their displeasure that you dared to disobey their script. Remember this rule. If someone becomes perfect too quickly, if someone tries too aggressively to become the center of your world, take a step back. True strength is keeping a cool head where others melt from flattery. Do not give your loyalty away for free. A predator always seems harmless and understanding, right up until you find yourself locked in their cage. Now that the predator has created the illusion of perfect intimacy we talked about in step 1, they move to the second phase. And this is perhaps the most destructive and subtle process in the dark psychology arsenal. Your environment is your defense system. Your friends, family, mentors, they are mirrors that reflect reality. If a manipulator invades your life, your loved ones will notice it sooner or later. They will see the inconsistencies. They will ask uncomfortable questions. And the predator understands this perfectly. Therefore, their next goal is to blind you by smashing those mirrors. Machiavelli wrote, "To subjugate a strong state, you must strip it of its allies. Divide and conquer." The manipulator doesn't openly declare, quote, 0. That would be too crude. It would trigger resistance. They act like a slow poison. They begin to sow seeds of doubt. Tiny, almost invisible seeds of paranoia. You talk about meeting an old friend, and the manipulator sighs heavily and drops one phrase. Quote 1. Or quote 2. They use your natural desire for growth against you. There is a colossal difference between conscious solitude and forced isolation. The absence of a crowd of friends is often a sign of a developed, deep mind that doesn't need empty chatter and prefers silence. A higher mind chooses its own distance. But the predator takes your need for privacy and turns it into a prison. They convince you that only they are capable of understanding you, that the rest of the world is hostile, primitive, and envious. They create a separate reality just for the two of you, a closed bunker. You start to feel like you're keeping secrets from your loved ones, not to protect your goals, but to avoid upsetting the manipulator. You stop sharing what's happening in your life with your friends because subconsciously, you know, they will point out that you are in a trap. Now listen closely to how this mechanic works on an emotional level. When you are isolated, you lose your foothold. Your self-confidence begins to crack. And when the manipulator decides to strike, to devalue you, humiliate you, show aggression, you will have no one to turn to. You will look around and realize you are standing in an empty room. Their main goal is to become the only source of light in your life. And once they become it, they will simply turn that light off. And you will be left in total darkness, completely dependent on their mood and their rules of the game. How do you spot this red flag? How do you test who is next to you, an ally or a dictator? Pay attention to how the person reacts to your independence. A healthy partner or friend will always encourage your connections with the world. They will be happy if you spend time with other successful people. But if, after this person appeared in your life, your social circle began to shrink rapidly, if you catch yourself making excuses to them for calling an old friend, if you've started hiding how this person treats you from your family, your internal alarm system should be blaring like a siren. Never allow anyone to become the sole filter of your reality. A person who truly respects you will never ask you to cut off a part of your life for their comfort. Isolation is not a sign of great love or devotion. It is preparation for absorption. We are used to thinking that a threat looks aggressive, that a predator always growls. But in dark psychology, the most dangerous players are those who know how to listen. And they aren't listening to understand you. They are listening to gather ammunition. Here we approach one of the most fundamental laws of power, the psychology of secrecy. Why should you never reveal your true goals to everyone you meet? Because the second you voice your deepest ambitions, your fears, or your weak spots, you think you are building a bridge of trust. But the manipulator sees you voluntarily handing over the blueprints to your vulnerability. How does this red flag work in practice? The predator asks the right questions. They appear stunningly empathetic. They might say, ____, quote, __0, ___. And you open up. You talk about your business plans, your fear of ending up alone, your complexes trailing from the past. You lay all your cards on the table, confident that you found a safe haven. But Machiavelli taught rulers one brutal truth. Information is the currency of control. He who knows your weaknesses holds you by the throat. As soon as the manipulator gathers enough data, the third phase begins: hidden sabotage. They never attack head-on. They use your own words against you, disguising it as care or a realistic perspective. Imagine, you are on the verge of an important decision. You are inspired. And then the manipulator, with perfectly calibrated intonation of gentle concern, says, "Are you sure you can handle this? Remember how hard you took that failure 3 years ago? You told me yourself. I'm just worried about your emotional state. Maybe you shouldn't risk it?" Do you hear it? That is not care. That is a sniper shot exactly into the vulnerability you showed them yourself. They use your past failures to clip your wings in the present. If they know your goal, they know how to make you doubt it. If they know your fear, they know exactly which button to push to induce panic and force you to seek their protection. They collect your secrets not to keep them safe, but to pull them out of the vault at the right moment and use them as leverage. How do you expose this spy? How do you test if they are building a dossier on you? Use the false target technique. Share a small, fabricated secret or a minor, insignificant weakness with this person. Tell them that some specific but actually harmless thing deeply offends you. And wait. Sooner or later, during the very first conflict, or when they need control over you, they will use this information. They will strike exactly where you pointed. And in that moment, the mask falls. You will see not a friend, not a partner, but a calculating strategist who methodically searched for your Achilles heel. Never hand the keys to your mind to those who haven't passed the test of time. Your goals, your secrets, your weaknesses. That is your restricted territory. Learn the art of strategic silence. Let them guess what's on your mind. because a person whose motives are hidden always remains invulnerable. We are moving to a level where dark psychology becomes truly terrifying. If the first 3 steps were just laying the groundwork, now the predator begins to break the very foundation of your personality, your perception of reality. In popular psychology, this is called gaslighting. But in the terms of power and control, I call it strategic amnesia. Let's recall one of the main rules of the game we talked about. Reality is not what actually happened. Reality is what people believe happened. The manipulator applies this Machiavellian law not to the crowd, but to you personally. Their task is to become the sole, undisputed author of your shared history. How does it look in practice? Imagine you catch them in a lie, or in blatant disrespect. You come to them with clear facts. You say, quote 1 or quote 2. In a normal, healthy dialogue, a person either apologizes or reasonably explains their position. But a manipulator never defends themselves with direct arguments. They pull a knight's move. They attack your sanity. They look you right in the eye, absolutely calmly, with an icy, terrifying certainty, and say, "That never happened. You're making it up. You're paranoid." Or they use the classic sideswipe. "I said it as a joke. Why are you so hypersensitive? It's impossible to have a normal conversation with you." And in that moment, something terrible happens. Their certainty is so unshakable that you begin to doubt yourself. You take a step back. You think, maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I misunderstood everything. Maybe the problem really is me. This is not an accident. This is a systematic, cold destruction of your internal pillars. Drop by drop, they make you distrust your own memory, your own eyes, and your own instincts. The more you doubt yourself, the more you rely on their version of reality. You voluntarily hand them your internal compass, and now only they decide where north and south are. They brilliantly weaponize your capacity for self-reflection against you. A person with high emotional intelligence is always willing to admit they might be wrong. The manipulator feeds on this. They force you to take the blame for their misdeeds. As a result, after every conflict they provoked, you are the one apologizing. You feel guilty for daring to defend your boundaries. How do you spot this flag in its early stages? How do you stop them from hacking your mind? You need to become an impartial witness, an archivist of your own facts. When the first such situation occurs, when a person brazenly, looking you in the eye, denies what was said 5 minutes ago, do not engage in an emotional squabble. You won't prove the truth to them, because their goal is not the truth, but power over your state of mind. Instead, use that very art of silence. Take a deep breath and register the fact. Trust your body. If, after talking to a person, your stomach knots, if you feel unexplained anxiety, emptiness, and brain fog, your subconscious is sounding the alarm. It's screaming at you that you are being broken. A person who respects you will never make you feel like you are going crazy. Someone who constantly plays with your reality is not a complex soul. It's a predator testing how deep they can get inside your head before you break. Your mind is your impregnable fortress, and anyone who tries to rewrite its laws from the inside must be exiled. No drama, no explanations. Many think a manipulator is a tyrant who constantly attacks, yells, and demands submission. This is a mistake, and this mistake costs people years of lost life. The most dangerous predator never keeps you in constant fear. They keep you in uncertainty. In behaviorism, this is called intermittent reinforcement. In dark psychology, it's the art of hacking the dopamine system. It is what turns strong, independent people into submissive, fawning puppets. Think of a casino. Why do people lose fortunes there? Because the payout is unpredictable. If the machine always took your money, you'd leave. If it always hit the jackpot, the game would lose its meaning. The brain becomes addicted precisely to the alternation. Loss, loss, sudden reward. The manipulator turns themselves into this slot machine, and the stakes become your self-esteem. At first, as we mentioned, they put you on a pedestal. You feel like a god in their eyes. But then, without the slightest reason, without warning, the switch is flipped. The Ice Age begins. Yesterday you talked heart to heart for hours, and today they give one-word answers. Yesterday they looked at you with admiration, and today their eyes show boredom or hidden irritation. They don't throw a tantrum, they just pull away. And in that moment, an ancient survival instinct kicks in inside you. Panic. You start feverishly replaying your words and actions in your head. Underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, zero, underscore, underscore. You start apologizing for things you didn't do. You break your own boundaries. You bend over backwards to bring back that warm version of this person. You chase after them. And as soon as you sink to the level of submission they need, click. The switch flips back on. They give you a smile. They are tender and attentive again. A colossal dose of endorphins hits your brain. You feel incredible relief. But you don't realize the main thing. The trap just snapped shut. You have just been trained. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler who is always cruel will be overthrown. A ruler who is always kind will be despised for weakness. But a ruler whose mood is unpredictable will completely capture the minds of his subjects. The manipulator uses emotional roller coasters to occupy 100% of your mental space. While you are guessing what their mood is today, you have no energy left for your own life, your goals, or an objective outside perspective. You live only to earn their warmth. How do you recognize this red flag and destroy their game? There is only one rule here, and it requires nerves of steel. When they turn on the underscore, underscore, quote, underscore, to, underscore, underscore, when they suddenly pull away to provoke you into a chase, stay exactly where you are. Don't ask, what happened? Don't try to look into their eyes. Don't offer help. Meet their coldness with absolute, paralyzing indifference. Return to your business. Shift your focus back to your goals. Show them that very emptiness we talked about in the beginning. For a manipulator, your indifference is a death sentence to their power. They expected panic. They expected your weakness. And when instead they see a rock against which their cheap tricks shatter, the system breaks. They will start to panic. They will try to re-establish contact themselves, and that is when you will see their true face, a pathetic, control-addicted ego. Do not play their games. You are not a lifeguard for their mood swings. Your energy is a privilege, and it is not handed out on demand to those who try to pull your strings. We have reached the final, most sophisticated tool in the dark psychology arsenal. This is the moment when the manipulator knows you are attached to them, but wants to make sure you are willing to fight for their attention. They inject a third person into your dynamic. In psychology, this is called triangulation. In the language of power, it is the creation of artificial scarcity. Machiavelli understood this principle perfectly. To make the crowd value bread, you must starve them and show that the slice won't go to everyone. The manipulator does the same thing with your self-esteem. They make you feel replaceable. Suddenly, someone's name starts popping up in conversation. It could be an ex-partner they suddenly speak of with suspicious warmth. It could be a colleague whose intellect they demonstratively praise in your presence. Or a new friend who understands them without words. They don't tell you directly, quote one. They act more subtly. They create a situation where you yourself begin to compare yourself to this phantom. And the second, a pang of jealousy, insecurity, or the desire to prove you are better flares up in your chest. They have won. Why do most people lose this battle? Because their ego forces them to enter the competition. They start trying harder. They forgive more. They lower their standards just to win this invisible tournament and remain __, quote _ to _ in the manipulator's eyes. They dance on the strings while the puppeteer enjoys the power. Remember this cold truth. A person who truly values you will never put you in line with someone else to make you nervous. Someone who uses other people as leverage over your emotions is not a prize worth fighting for. They are the executioner of your self-esteem. How do you destroy this strategy? How do you snatch the power back from their hands? The answer lies in an absolute, paralyzing refusal to participate. You do not compete. You do not prove your worth. You do not make scenes of jealousy. The next time they drop the name of their genius colleague or irreplaceable ex, look at them with a blank, impenetrable stare and say one sentence. Sounds great. You should spend more time with them. And that's it. Detach. Remove yourself from this chessboard. You must realize your worth so deeply that the very thought of competing for someone's attention seems insulting to you. Your presence is an exclusive privilege. If someone thinks you can be replaced, let them try. But the door behind them will close forever. When the manipulator sees that their attempt to provoke jealousy shatters against your icy self-confidence, they go into shock. Their weapon misfired. You showed that you are not afraid to lose them, and in that moment, the power completely shifts into your hands. You've just received the blueprint. 6 hidden signals, 6 ways to spot a predator before its jaws snap shut. Manipulators are always looking for prey. They scan the crowd for those who doubt themselves, who crave approval, who are willing to tolerate disrespect for the illusion of love or friendship. But by applying what you learn today, you will stop emitting that energy. You will become invisible to them, and if they dare to come closer, they will break their teeth on your awareness. True power is not the ability to outplay a manipulator at their own games. True power is a level of development where their games only cause you boredom. You watch their attempts to pull the strings as if you are watching a cheap play. You are invulnerable because your center of gravity is inside you, not in someone else's hands. You are no longer prey. You are the architect of your reality. Use this knowledge. Use it coldly. Use it without mercy when someone tries to invade your territory. If these words awaken something deep within you, leave one phrase in the comments below. Write the words, "I am invulnerable," and claim the rights to your new identity. Let the algorithms know you are here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss a single lesson about the nature of true power. The weak will scroll past, the strong will take action. Which one are you? Remember, respect isn't just given, it is commanded. Now go and become invulnerable.